Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. So listen, if you live in the United Kingdom today, there is a terror alert. That's official. That's from the, what is official? That's what most mainstream media are reporting, that there is a terror alert today in the United Kingdom, i.e. in London, with the Al-Quds Day march. Also, the Iran war. I've been covering a lot of the actual of the nuts and bolts of this war and where it's heading. What I've realized I've not done that much is I've not given you guys in the United Kingdom the real hard nuts and bolts of how this is affecting you guys literally in your pockets. So yes, if you live in the United Kingdom right now, this war is affecting you. Yes, I'm not convinced that Benjamin Netanyahu is alive. Yes, the United States are calling out for military assistance in the Middle East. You don't do that if you're winning a war, guys. You absolutely do not do that. So all that stuff is true. However, let me get into this, ladies and gentlemen, because there is a lot happening today. So welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new to the channel, can you please do me a favor and hit those buttons down below, the subscribe, bell notification. Really does help me out when you guys do that. Absolutely. So let's get into this, guys, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to everyone now how this is hitting them in the pockets. And then I'm going to talk to you guys about the terror alert in the United Kingdom, the alert in the United Kingdom right now. And it's not me speculating. If you guys just search Al-Quds Day, mainstream media in the United Kingdom, people are going bonkers about this. So welcome back, or if you're new, welcome. Well, we're on today, the 15th of March. It looks like it's the Al-Quds Day march in London that's already been banned. However, I hope that you guys have filled up your petrol tanks. I hope you've got, some sort of fuel stability, or stared at your, last direct debit when you're looking at your energy costs. The war in Iran, the US and Israel versus Iran and their allies, but they're not talking about their allies, hasn't just been headlines from thousands of miles away. It's landed right here in the United Kingdom, okay? Petrol shot up, diesel even more so. I don't know if you guys have noticed that the price of diesel has gone up a lot more than the price of petrol. Again, look, guys, if you've been following this channel, today's news is old news, right? I genuinely believe we are heading towards a scenario where diesel gets taken off the shelves. I keep saying it. If you guys look how much the price of diesel has jumped up relative to the price of petrol, I do think that's coming, guys, okay? Experts are warning that household energy bills could jump. On top of that, everything else we've been through these last few years. So let me paint the picture. So we all know that the Strait of Hormuz has been closed. I think we're about the 5th day now of that being, about the 5th or 6th day of the Strait of Hormuz being closed. They're saying it's not being closed. People are flim-flammering. But look, if you're going to sail through that little gap and you're going to get missiles and drones fired at you, you're not going to do it right. So it is effectively closed. Tankers, they're just not going to go through. Regardless of what Donald Trump says, regardless of how big the Navy is, it's just not going to happen. Even if there is like a 1% chance of missiles being fired, they're not going to go through. And the only realistic way for ships to go through is if the Iranians say, we're not going to fire at any ships. That is the only way. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much military goes down there, and it genuinely doesn't matter. The only way that works, guys, is if the Iranians say that that's not going. So that's your trigger, right? That's literally your trigger. If you want to know, I always talk about immigration, and I say, look, very simple metrics, visual metrics. All right, I'm all about keeping things simple, guys. Okay. Very simple. If you want to talk about migration crisis in the United Kingdom, I'm giving you guys this because I've talked about it before. So if you want to think about the migration crisis in the United Kingdom and think, is it getting better or is it getting worse? Very easy. You just look, can we stop the boats coming over? If the answer is yes, then we may have a handle on it. We may be able to, we'll be able to sort things out. If the answer is no, you can see these boats coming, then things are going to continue to get worse. Doesn't matter what anyone else says. The physicalities don't lie, guys. Okay. So when we look at the Strait of Hormuz, when we look at the oil prices, the petrol prices, they are going to continue to rise until the Strait of Hormuz is opened. That is it. Don't listen to what other people say. Don't listen to what they say on the media. Don't listen to what Donald Trump says. Don't listen to anybody else, right? Let your eyes tell you the truth, right? Has the Strait of Hormuz been opened? No. Right. The oil price is going to continue to rise then. That's the reality. There is no caveat to that, all right? Now, the numbers are stark. Now, this is just in the last couple of days, and these are my own numbers. I went to the petrol station on Friday to fill up, and I've been keeping an eye on this. I think, was it not Friday? What day are we on today? So, yeah, it was Friday, actually. I went to the petrol station Friday to fill up. I've been out this morning. I didn't fill up because I was full. I drove past. And over the last, I don't know whether it happened last night or Friday night, but from Friday morning when I filled up to this morning, petrol's gone up 6 pence. Now, I know that doesn't sound like much, but it is when you're thinking about 6 pence per litre. And diesel has jumped up 15 pence. Honestly, guys, like I can't tell you enough how this is going to affect everyone. I've said it. I've been saying it until I'm blue in the face. If you've got a diesel car right now, either stockpile a shitload of diesel to last you the next 3 years or get rid of your diesel car and buy a petrol car. So they're the numbers. Now, I don't know what the official numbers are. I've no idea. No idea what those official numbers are, guys. I really don't. If you're driving a family saloon or a van for work, or whatever, something that uses diesel, that's real money, guys. That is a huge jump. And it's not just fuel. Wholesale gas prices in the United Kingdom have spiked. We're more reliant on gas for heating and power than most of Europe. Over 70% of homes in the UK use gas. I'm just so lucky we don't. The OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, says a sustained spike could push UK inflation up by a full percentage point by the end of the year. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has already flagged it. Upward pressure on inflation, possible support packages for heating oil users who are off-grid, chats with petrol retailers. But let's be honest, guys, okay? After the last energy crisis, everybody's skeptical right now. And a really good way that the government can raise taxes, bring down living costs, is to blame the war. I witnessed this guys, you did as well, when Putin invaded in 2022, when Putin's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, because the invasion of Ukraine happened in 2014, right? These gas, energy, everybody just blames the war in Iran for everything. Now, this is not an abstract. This is not an abstract worry. This means the price of everything's going to go up, and it's all around diesel. All right, it is literally all around diesel, guys. Okay, your tankers, you know, your HGVs. Those things that deliver to Tesco's with the big Tesco's, every little helps on it. Is that Tesco's? Yeah, every little helps. You know, spend a little, live a lot. You know, those little trucks, Home Bargains, B&M, Morrison's. They all get their stuff delivered by HGVs. And those HGVs run on diesel. And guess what? If the price of diesel is rocketing, guess what happens to the price of everything in the supermarket? Yeah, it rockets as well. And then what happens? You can't afford to buy your shit. Then what happens? The shops go bust. Why do the shops go bust? Because nobody's spending. Why is nobody spending? Because the prices are too high. So what happens then? People are unemployed. So what happens then? More taxes. Why more taxes? Because the benefits bill is bigger now because we've got more people unemployed. All roads right now, ladies and gentlemen, are leading to a wild new world order. They are, and I guess we're not at the beginning of this. The beginning of this was the war, 2014. I guess that was like the 2014 time. That was like 2014 was comparable to 1936 with the Spanish Civil War. Now we're kind of like at the, I guess we're at the invasion of Poland. So you can imagine now, all these prices are going up. Bus fares are going to be going up. Train costs are going to be going up. Everything that's on the shelves. If you buy stuff that's on a shelf, it's going to go up because the transport costs are going up, right? I'm going to assume this is going to affect mortgages and rents. The Bank of England are going to be holding high interest rates for longer, so that dream that everybody had of interest rates being cut doesn't look like that's happening now. So listen, guys, a quick question for you guys. Have you already noticed the difference? Have you guys already noticed the difference? I certainly have. I've noticed the difference at the petrol station. I've not yet noticed the difference at the supermarket, at the stores, on the shelves. I've not noticed that yet, but that will come. Because what's happening now, these big haulage companies in the United Kingdom, they will have their own fuel supply, right? They will buy it. Like I don't know, I'm speculating here. If you're Morrison's, excuse me, if you're Morrison's petrol or whatever, if you're Morrison's delivery driver, right? Morrison's buy fuel in bulk. And I'm going to assume that's why most supermarkets have their own fuel outlet, right? Because they buy fuel in bulk anyway, so right, we're buying fuel in bulk anyway, we might as well sell fuel. So your big supermarkets, they will already have their own fuel supply, and they will have paid a price for that a while ago. When they use all that fuel, they have to buy more fuel, right? So that's when the prices are going to go up, and that's when those prices will disseminate down. So have you guys felt this in your pockets? I know I've seen it in the I know I've seen this. Now, there's also another question I've got for you guys. There's another energy price cap announcement in July. If you guys remember, the government said they were going to bring it down. I don't think that's coming down. I don't think it's coming down. Now, in the meantime, right? In the meantime, my advice is the same as I gave earlier, right? My advice is this. If you've got a car, and if you guys have got a car and you can't get rid of it because it's diesel or whatever, just keep it topped up, all right? Because the price isn't coming down. The price is not coming down. On the 28th, I said to before the 28th, you guys will be following me for a while. Before the 28th, in fact, I remember, right? If anybody wants to go through and watch the live stream we gave on the 27th, I remember on that live stream closing it down and saying, right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is your final trigger warning. If those airstrikes go in tomorrow morning or tomorrow, that's your first trigger because the price of fuel is going to go up beyond belief or something like that. I closed it down. The visual marker for everyone to look at right now, if you're trying to, if you're not, maybe if you're new to the channel, or, you don't keep an eye on things, right? And people are saying, oh, but the government are going to do this. Oh, but this is going to happen. Oh, but this is going to happen. It's all scandaddly. It's all absolutely scandaddly, guys. Let your eyes tell you the truth, right? Has the Strait of Hormuz been opened? Yes. Right. There may be a situation in a couple of months' time when the price of fuel flattens out, right? That may be the case. In a couple of months, the price of fuel may flatten out. It'll take a few months for that to settle through, right? When there's a crisis, the prices go up straight away, right? When the crisis is over, it comes down slowly. And it never comes down to what it was originally, right? And it is ridiculous at the moment. So has the Strait of Hormuz opened up? Yes, right? Maybe in a couple of months, prices might flatten out. Is the Strait of Hormuz opened? No. Right. Well, prices are going to continually rise at the pump. And if that keeps happening, the price of everything's gonna keep going up, guys. Right. I'm going to jump onto the chat and then I'm going to talk about the terror alert today in... so there is a terror alert today in London, guys. There is terror alert in London. Right. I'm jumping to the bottom. Warmelon is saying... I'm a noob here, Sean. I'm somewhat of a veteran in this chat. I'll have you know. I didn't say. I didn't say. I didn't say that. Stapen Deva is saying the mother of my child found a needle in, and I lost a friend. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Maybe I'm missing people's comments. Right, let me jump up and get some of these comments, guys. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Bite Explorer saying, get yourself some hens. At least 3 will help you out a little bit, and water filters. Yeah, hens are great, guys. Like, we used to have 6 chickens, right? We used to have 6 chickens. Honestly, it was fantastic. You know, the girls used to go down there. They used to search for the eggs every morning. Just a word of warning, right? If you've got like hens or if you've got chickens or whatever, they're dirty little critters, guys. They are absolutely dirty little critters, and they attract rats as well. James is saying, isn't there a big demonstration today in London? Pro-Iranian regime and anti-Iranian regime. What could go wrong? Get some popcorn in. Yeah, I'm going to be covering that in a second. D. Marie Gen X is saying, I paid £250 extra. Hang on a minute. I paid £250 extra 1 week later for the same amount of heating oil, raging, and it's capped at 500 litres max per house here at the minute. Right, okay. So D. Marie Gen X is saying the price of oil for her, I'm assuming that's for like oil heating for your house, has gone up £250 in the space of a week. Right, I'm just jumping to the bottom. Danny Stonehouse is saying, I remember when they brought fuel down to £1 during the lockdown. Yeah, can you guys remember that? Can you guys remember when fuel was £1? For those of us who are a little bit older, I can remember when fuel was 69 pence a litre. And then it slowly went up. It slowly went up. And then when it broke that £1 barrier, there was protests. There was the truckers driving slow on the motorway. It was carnage. Right now, I think we've bridged that Rubicon, right? We've bridged that Rubicon where we just accept now, and everybody needs to look, guys. With the price of fuel, please go and fill your tanks up, right? And keep them topped up. As soon as they drop, top it up, right? That's what you need to be doing, because your vehicle now, it's not just to get you from A to B, it's to get you from, like, I don't know, H to B, as in home to bug out location. James is saying Trump wants the UK, Japan, etc. to sail Navy ships through the Strait of Hormuz, but the US aircraft carrier groups are 1,000 miles from Iran. How about no? Yeah. So we spoke about this last night, guys. We did. We spoke about this last night, and what we were saying is, I think the heading for my live stream last night was America could be losing or something, because you don't ask for international assistance unless you're losing. That's the reality. Googleinos is saying fears of nuclear war are rising due to events around the world. Yeah, so I heard, and I don't know how much. Look, guys, I will be quite clear. My stance on nuclear weapons is exactly where it's always been, right? Exactly where it's always been. I don't believe a nuclear weapon will be used ever again. However, that doesn't mean I can't be wrong, right? The reasons I give for that are pretty wild, and I'm not going to go into them now. However, if we are to see a nuclear exchange or a nuclear strike, you would see nuclear testing. Now, what you've got to understand is there are two aspects to firing. Well, there's quite a few aspects, actually. The two main aspects to firing a nuclear weapon, right? First of all, it's the nuclear weapon itself, the mushroom kaboomer. The mushroom kaboomer, that's the first thing right now. For a mushroom kaboomer, you can literally put that on the back of a truck. You can put that on the back of a truck, drive it somewhere, and then you have all your scientists and your technicians pressing the buttons or whatever, winding the wheels. I don't know how these things work, but that's like the first aspect, the mushroom kaboomer, right? Your actual warhead. And that in itself, they're not easy to do. The second aspect is the delivery method, right? The delivery method. Now, we all see these, you all see like the rockets going up. And you think, oh yeah, it's easy. You've got a nuclear weapon, just stick it on. It's not that easy, guys. It really isn't. It's difficult. So to get all these things to work together, to get all these moving parts working together, it's quite difficult. So you'll see, and you do see quite often people testing. And they say they're testing nuclear missiles. What they actually mean is they're testing the delivery system. So like a couple of months ago, the United States were testing their Minuteman. I think they may have been to like Minuteman 2 or maybe Minuteman 3 missiles. They are intercontinental ballistic missiles, but they're not testing them with a nuclear weapon. All right. So until you see both of these things being tested, i.e. testing a nuclear weapon in the delivery system, I would say that the likelihood of a nuclear exchange is low. However, I could be wrong, and the mainstream media are talking about it. Danny Stonehouse is saying Iranian sleeper cells could cause us a mischief simply by causing a traffic jam, sitting in traffic, burning precious fuel. Yeah. Right, I'm just jumping to the bottom, guys, because I want to get the most relevant comments at the bottom. Nothing from Labour, though, David. I don't know what that means. I hoped and prayed. Minuteman 3 says Footlong Bong. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so the Minuteman missile, it's been the one that's like developed by the United States. Obviously, it started as Minuteman missile. Then they had Minuteman 2. And Footlong Bong is saying they're on the Minuteman 3 missile. I don't know what they are. Left-wing group launches nationwide. I told you. Right. Googleinos. Can you guys remember when I said that a way of subversion, you've got all these different subversion tools. One of a low-level subversion tool to destabilize a country is just go shoplifting. All these people in hotels, all these liberal groups, right, we're just going to go shoplifting. What does that do? That puts a strain on the police, right? Puts a strain on the police. We know, we've heard from other reports that, and I still think this is wild, the police won't come out and arrest you if you steal, like, if it's under £200 or whatever. So this puts an added strain on the system, right? And it's just caused carnage, chaos, and mayhem. Right, let me put Darth Vapor is saying 10 Richmond Super Kings, £2.10. That must be a long time ago. Smoking is not good for you guys. Smoking is absolutely not good for you. Right, I'm going to give you guys a quick update now on what's happening with this Al-Quds Day. The Al-Quds Day March. Now, if you guys live in the United Kingdom right now, Britain is absolutely bracing, London especially. London is bracing for what could be, I'm just going to say, a highly volatile day on the streets, to put it lightly, right? Thousands, police estimates, around 12,000 protesters are due to gather in London today. And I will be covering this, guys. I'll be getting as much open source social media as I can for the Al-Quds Day protest. An event traditionally held on the last Friday of Ramadan to express solidarity with Palestinians and opposition to Israel. So that's when it's usually held. However, this year it's unfolding against an explosive backdrop of the ongoing US-Israel war with Iran. Now, when it's like, what we're on the 15th. Yeah, like third. We are in week 3 now. In week 3. Now, obviously, these airstrikes, this military operation in the Middle East has dramatically heightened tensions in the United Kingdom. Again, this is one of the reasons why the United Kingdom can't be overtly involved in this. We can't. There's going to be the war in Iraq. There's going to be the war in There's going to be the war in Ukraine very soon. So Al-Quds Day was first declared by Iran's Ayatollah in 1979. Maybe now I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to give you the update. Okay. As a day of anti-Israel protests. Now, I didn't realize. If somebody says to me, Al-Quds Day march, I'm like, right, whatever. I don't know what that means. I didn't realize, right, that this was an anti-Israel protest that's allowed to go on. You're just allowed to do that now. Okay, whatever. And the London version is authorized by the Islamic Human Rights Commission. I'll be looking into them later, guys. I will. A group that police described as supportive of the Iranian regime. Past marches have drawn controversy for featuring Hezbollah flags, chants that are... You see, when people chant things in a different language, the police don't know what to say. The police don't know how to deal with that. So if you chant something like, I'm not going to say it, but if you chant something in Arabic, unless those police officers understand what you're saying, how can they take offense? However, if you say raise the colors, or what is it? If you say, if you say what is it? What did somebody get arrested for? I can't remember. Somebody got arrested for saying something ridiculous, like speak English. But if you say speak English in England, you get arrested, right? So we're in this very peculiar situation. We are. Now, this year in London, it's going to be a lot different, all right, and far riskier. The alert state, the terror alert has gone up, absolutely. I'll be sharing with you guys some articles from the mainstream in a second. So, obviously, because of the war, today in London, the Al-Quds Day march, it's going to be a lot more heightened, right? Especially with the news, with the rumors that Benjamin Netanyahu may have gone to the candy shop. I'm not letting that go, guys. I'm not letting that go. I spoke about it first, right? And I've been bringing this out to you guys. I do think there is strong evidence to say that Netanyahu, he's gone to the candy shop. Now, obviously, this conflict erupted at the end of at the end of February. We're in the third. Third week now. There have been strikes and strikes and strikes and strikes. Now the United States are asking allies to get involved. The supreme leader, the one who called for this march originally, he's brown bread. He's gone to the candy shop. So you can see that there's going to be a heightened tensions at this march. The United Kingdom, here in the UK, we've been very clear every time. Can you remember back in early on in this conflict, you had every and this is like, I knew they didn't know what they were talking about from day one, but I didn't quite realize how out of the depth. I didn't quite realize how out of their depth they were. You know, when you go to meetings and stuff and you're like, yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but you don't realize how bad that is because they put up a good show. Yeah, we're kind of like that. So if you guys remember back in the beginning of the month, whatever, every politician that was asked about what Britain's involvement were, they'd be talking naturally and normally, and then they go, what's Britain's involvement? And they would do this. Britain has had no role in this conflict. Britain has had no role in this conflict. Britain stand together for peace and diversity. We shall not divide our communities. Whew, whew, oh my God. Because behind the scenes, they will have been, you know, I'm speculating now. Behind the scenes, somebody will come up to them and say, Kia, listen, mate, we're about to fucking, you know, we're about to pop. This place is, this is about to pop off. Literally right now, this is about to pop off. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, do you not realize how bad things are on the streets? One wrong word from a politician and all hell's going to break loose. We've got like, I don't know, X amount of, and this is speculation, we've got X amount of active investigations now. We know that this equipment's in the United Kingdom where we can't find it yet. You know, we've got we've literally now got special forces making arrests in, and this is me speculating again, and I shared the video with you guys, special forces making arrests in Bradford. So, you know, the United Kingdom have been very clear that they're only playing a defensive role. They are not involved in these attacks. RAF assets have been intercepting, you know, drones over Allied bases. Now, the war context is why this protest today in London has forced the government to act. The Metropolitan Police requested, and the Home Secretary Shabina Mahmood approved, a rare 1-month ban on any marches relating to Al-Quds Day. Now, I don't know when the government have ever done this. Now, let me ask you a question, guys, all right? These people that go to these Al-Quds Day marches and do these marches, are they the people that are normally law-abiding? I don't know. You guys put it in the chat. Now, the reasoning that this is being banned is because of serious public order risks from the scale of the protest. Multiple planned counter-protests, likely from pro-Israel, Iranian exile or anti-regime groups. It's literally going to be left versus right. That's what's happening right now. And the volatile situation in the Middle East. The police cited intelligence about potential Iranian regime influence or threats on British soil. Previous arrests at these events for hate crimes, terror support, and the nature of the Iranian-linked sleeper cells in the United Kingdom raises this risk ridiculously. Like, ridiculously. However, the ban does not stop. It doesn't stop the protest or the gathering, I guess. It doesn't stop it entirely. There's a static demonstration going ahead. So, like, you're still going to have all these people. Organizers are claiming that they've planned a restricted 2-hour rally on the south bank of the River Thames between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. So I will be covering that, guys. I'll be covering that. I'll be probably on the live stream from about I'll be definitely on at 1. I don't know when I'll be on. With the river itself used as a physical barrier to the counter demonstrators that are going to be on the northern shores. So again, I know I said this last night if you was on the live stream. So think about that, guys, okay? Using a river as a physical barrier. So when I talk about Ukraine, right, and when I talk about the ground, let the ground dictate your movements, and I talk about Ukraine and the war, and I'm like, yeah, not a chance it's finishing. Not a chance it's finishing. No, not a chance. Because it won't finish until the Russians make it up to the River Dnipro. That could happen. That could happen very soon, like this year. Now, the police have brought in an extra 1,000 officers. They're mobilized for what the police are calling a difficult and challenging, potentially violent public order operation. Police have issued warnings. Officers will act decisively against anything crossing into hate crime or prescribed group support. I don't even know how that works. that explicitly includes any infatada chants. So when you're chanting in Arabic, I don't know if you guys know, but infatada means uprising, like a direct translation. But if you're chanting these things in Arabic, are the police versed in Arabic? I mean, what's John from Bolton going to say? He's come down for a weekend's overtime, right? He's come down from Bolton, and he says someone called him Khalish Rebbe. Yep, he called me Coolish Rebbe. Right, what does that mean? Khalish Rebbe. Habibi and a mo. I'm sorry, I'm speaking Arabic, right? So he called him a bad word, right? Khalish Rebbe. How is he gonna what are you gonna write that up? Can you write Arabic? It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work, guys, right? Unless you give all the unless you only have fluent Arabic speakers in that particular dialect. Not going to work, guys. Not going to work. Right. So what is the likelihood of violence in this today, guys? I would say this is high enough. I would say it's quite high. And it's high enough that the authorities have took this extraordinary step of banning the march. It's banned. I don't know when a march has been banned like this before. I don't know. Police and security services see a real and severe risk of serious disorder. That's what they're saying, guys, and I'll share with you guys mainstream media articles about this later. Clashes between rival groups or even opportunists, exploitations by regime elements. Now, what we mean there is, sleeper cells right now, okay? It would be very easy for a sleeper cell to infiltrate this crowd and do something. You can call them agent provocateurs, or in Russian, you call them tutushkas. These are people that go into the crowd. You guys, honestly, when I talk about this stuff, right? Remember, all right? In the military, I've done all these jobs with crowd control. I've been on the shield at the front, rear, front, hold, I've been in little snatch squads where you run out and you try and clear the streets. I've been as a commander, been as a baton gunner, running around the fire extinguisher, because that's a role as well, running around the fire extinguisher man. I've also been in the crowd trying to make covert arrests of ringleaders. I've also been in the van with a big CCTV camera trying to identify ringleaders, right? When you watch this stuff, you get these agent provocateurs or tutushkas or sleeper cells or whatever you want to call them. And they will go into the crowd and they roust the crowd up. They roust the crowd up because they're the ones who will be running first and smashing things. And then those guys, they go home and they just leave everything then. They leave the carnage. And they're the ones, they're like the, the sleeper cells, the agents, the agent provocateurs or the tutushkas. So it would be, today is a massive event. It's a massive likelihood of sleeper cells infiltrating that crowd and something happening, right? That's the real threat, okay? And then you blame that on, the whatever, you can do a lot of asymmetric things. You can blame it on the other side. You can just cause chaos and carnage. There's a lot of stuff that could go, guys, okay? So the second question I've got for you guys is, do you think sleeper cells have been activated? Past all Quds Day marches have seen sporadic arrests, but not mass violence. This time, however, the war's proximity, Iran attacking allies, UK bases involved defensively, counter protests. So now you're going to have pro-regime and anti-regime out on the streets. The River Thames barrier and heavy policing are there to try and contain this. However, we've seen these things go wrong. And you best get your, you literally best get your popcorn ready. You absolutely best get your popcorn ready, guys, for tonight, this afternoon, actually. Because there is an absolute heightened risk. Hang on. There is a heightened risk, there's a heightened risk today in London. Right, listen, guys, let me jump onto the chat. Sean, where were you at the Battle of Trafalgar? The Battle of Trafalgar. Kaktila Chuvak. Hang on. Right, I don't speak Russian. That's sorry, I do speak Russian. I can't read that Russian. Right, I can't read that. If you write that in Ukrainian, I might be able to read it. Right, Googlinos is saying a flight bound for Florida was forced to make an emergency landing in Georgia after a man called to prayer on his phone was mistaken for a bomb threat by the okay, right, listen. When I used to fly back from Baghdad, you would be amazed the amount of times people went crazy on the plane, like Baghdad to it was either Baghdad to Dubai or Baghdad to Turkey, depending what company I was working for. But the amount of people, right, on those flights that go crackers, they just try to like open the door, or they start shouting like Allahu Akbar and attacking. It's crazy. It is. It's crazy. Danny is saying, I'm living about how fudge the UK is. I'm from Leeds. Our protests should be huge. Unfortunately, they're not. Britannia Hotel is a danger on our doorstep. It is, guys. When we talk about these hotels, there was a now you won't get this information from the mainstream media, because this is like local information, right? And the mainstream media can't say anything unless it's verified. So what I'm going to give you now is anecdotal, speculate, not anecdotal. Okay. So there was a hotel in Rotherham that all those riots that it did turn into riots happened. Now, part of those people who were at that protest initially, they weren't far right. They were local residents who were sick of kids walking around the park being followed. They were sick of crime, and they were identifying it all to one certain area, right? Now that hotel's closed, the park and the reservoir that was just behind that hotel is flourishing again. Kids play there, women walk, like a lot of women walk their dogs around there from that local estate. Because he said they just didn't do that when the hotel was open because they were scared. Googlinos is saying Trump advisor warns Israel may unleash nukes in the Middle East. I'm still convinced, guys. I'm not convinced nuclear weapons will be. I'm not convinced nuclear weapons will be used. The first thing to see is putting them together, right? The River Thames was the first police. The River Thames was the first police. Sir Robert Peel. I don't know what that means. John Darwin is saying, Sean, thanks for taking your time and sharing the information you can. Oh, thank you, John. Thank you, John. And John, I hope you've hit those buttons down below, John. The like, comment, subscribe, and the bell notification. Privyet. I asked, which PC do you use? I won't write in Ukrainian. Sorry, which PC do I use? I don't know what you mean. Which PC I use? I don't know what that means. I asked which PC you use. I don't know what that means, Sasha. Right, hang on. Google Linus has got another. One of Britain's last major chemical plants at risk as energy prices surge. Yeah, and that's going to put more people into unemployment, right? It's going to put more people to unemployment. More people. Look, if you work at one of these, like, where's your transferable skills, right? Where's your transferable skills when these high-end jobs are leaving because of because they, when these high-end jobs go down, you can imagine now, right? Just say you work at like a high-end job, right? And that industry is gone now in the United Kingdom. What are you going to do? Like, literally, what are you going to do? The industry's gone. So you're there, you've worked 15 years at a high-end chemical plant, right? You're you're a pharmacist, you're a chemist or whatever. You've got all those qualifications, you've got that work experience working in that particular industry. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? You're going to go on the tills at B&M? Like, where are you going to go? When these industries close, they don't come back, guys. And it all circles around energy costs. Like, it's virtually impossible. It's virtually impossible to keep to manufacture anything in the United Kingdom because of the energy costs, because of the labor costs. And one thing that I was really suspicious about is, can you guys, and I'm going off topic here, I can remember a couple of I can remember a while ago there was an announcement that there was going to be like server farms in the UK. Like these AI server farms or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was, but there was a huge announcement that there was like billions being invested in Britain being the AI center of the future. And like, the first thing I was thinking was like, where's the energy coming from? It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. In fact, let me find this. Right, let me just share this with you guys. This is slightly off topic, but this is like really suspicious. This is really suspicious. I'm just gonna share this with you guys. The UK server farms market is experiencing a 10 billion plus investment boom driven by AI demand, with major projects including 10 billion, that's it, data centers, a 10 billion Blackstone AI data center in Blythe. So there's a shitload of money being invested in the United Kingdom in these data centers. Now, look, data centers need electricity, right? Britain is the most expensive place in the world. I'm sure. I don't know anywhere else that's more expensive than Britain for electricity. So it makes no sense to me, guys. There's something going on here. There's something going on here, and I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's free and clean energies coming. I don't know. I don't know whether Britain are going to invest in nuclear. I don't know what it is, right? But follow the money, right? Follow the money. If they're building data centers in the United Kingdom, those data centers use a lot of electricity, right? Electricity is expensive in the United Kingdom. So it's probably the worst financial decision you could make, right? It's the worst financial decision. If you're going to build a data center, you want to build them somewhere. I would build them in Norway. Why Norway? It's cold and you get cheap energy, relatively cheap energy. But the cold, because of the cold in Norway, that will bring down your heating, right? Because data centers generate a lot of heat. That you need to do something with that heat, so you need to cool them. If you're building that in a cold area, that brings your price down because it's naturally cooled because you're in a cold environment. So I don't know why they're building these data centers in the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom isn't particularly cold. It's not particularly warm either. It's just like crappy in the middle weather. But the energy costs so high, and you've got to look at these things that seem nonsensical. But when if you're investing 10 billion, that's a lot of money. You're going to want a return on your investment, right? Thomas Vale is saying, I've been in retail for 12 years. I'm worried it's going to crash big time. Prices go up, wages go up, customers can't afford it. Exactly. Thomas Vale, that is exactly what's coming, mate. And listen, guys, all right? If you're on right now and you're worrying and you're worried about your jobs, you need to accept realities, all right? And I'm not meaning this to be like negative to anyone. You need to look to the future, right? Everybody needs to look to the future and make solid life decisions now. If you're a boxer, the only punch that knocks you out is the one you don't see coming. If you see something coming, you can try and insulate yourself from it as best you can. Now, everybody's going to be in different situations. Everybody's going to be in a different situation. Everybody's going to be in a different financial situation. Everybody's going to be in a different home situation. You might have a flat, a house, mortgage, rented. I don't know, you might own it outright. What you've got to do is you've got to look at what's coming in the future and think, right, how's that going to affect me? Be realistic and take decisive action now. In any crisis, taking decisive action early on, it absolutely helps you out, guys, okay? Warmelon is saying, I'm not worried about the chemical plants. They're all gone. Sean is going to employ me as a runner for him and Googlinos in his newsroom. Oh, Googlinos is coming up with some more stuff. UK could send mine. Yeah, I've seen this. I was going to do a TikTok about this. They're all worthless, guys. They're all copters. Britain invested millions, right? Britain invested millions in these things. Britain invested millions in these things. The problem is they're heavily reliant on radar, and the batteries are not powerful enough. So they're not going to work. Certainly not as interceptors. Freddie's saying, don't forget to like. Yeah, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on, can you hit those buttons down below? I don't do this as much as I should. Like, you guys know what buttons we're on about, right? Right, I'm going to jump to the bottom, guys. I'm jumping to the bottom. Right. Palantir. Do you guys know what Palantir means? The Palantir. Palantir, it's correct pronunciation. Palantir. The Palantir is a Palantir is from Lord of the Rings. And it's like the magic balls. It's like the magic balls that Saruman and the Dark Lord have, and they used to spy on people. But have you seen some of the stuff that Palantir can do? It really is phenomenal as a decision-making tool. Like, the information that gets pumped into Palantir is phenomenal. And Googling us in two mass shooting in El Dorado Park. Right, this may be a standalone. Hang on. Okay, so I've just got something up on Google there. It says the reports below are new. Looks like it's moving quickly. I've never had that on Google before. Right, I'm just going to get this up here. 2 killed in Eldorado Park mass shooting. Right, I'll read this. So this is in Johannesburg. 2 people have been, gone to the candy shop, and 6 others are wounded following a mass, one of the things we were talking about last night. Police Brigadier Brenda Murraydill confirmed the incident, saying there is a manhunt for 8 alleged suspects. Wow. So there's 8 suspects. So this was a big thing that happened last night in Johannesburg. So I have been to Johannesburg. There's a high crime rate in Johannesburg. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking at the time, right? I'm looking at the time. Let's jump back on track, okay? Let's jump back on track. I believe that is true, Ryan. I believe that is true. The reports are limited at this point. I do. The reports are limited. That's the information I've got. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring it back on track, because today there is the Al-Quds Day march in London. That's not a march, it's a static protest. With what's happening globally, these tensions have absolutely rocketed. This year, it's going to be very different, and the United Kingdom, London itself, is bracing for what could be, to put it politely, London and the United Kingdom is bracing for what could be a highly charged and volatile day on the streets. Let's not forget, London, Birmingham, Manchester, Sheffield, Nottingham, these places are, certainly Birmingham, right? You could argue that these places are already enclaves, of colonization, if you want to use that word. I mean, I think that word is solid. Okay, just give me a second, right? Give me a second. I'm going to put something together now. Give me a second. It's worth it, guys. This is going to be worth it. Give me a second. I'm working fast and efficient. Raven is working fast and efficient, like he always does. Oh, fuck. Right, Andrew Bridgens just posted, humanoid robot soldiers have been sent to Ukraine for evaluation. Jesus Christ. Right, okay, that's another live stream. Right, I've spelled that wrong. You give me a second, guys. There. Right. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share 2 screens with you. Okay. So if you live in the United Kingdom, right? Listen, guys. If you live in the United Kingdom right now, there was a big controversy a couple of weeks ago when, who was it? Somebody said that Britain is being colonized, right? And there was a big controversy over it, right? So let's have a look look, somebody was saying to me, like, on like another chat, I can't remember what it was. Somebody was saying to me, Sean, don't play the fool. You know what that, you know what we're talking about. Because I think it was Zionist. And I wasn't. What I was doing is I was just getting my facts straight, because when you use these words that are so charged, you need to understand what those words are, and you need to understand how to use those words in the right context, right? So I'm doing that again, right? So let's just look here what the word colonized means. So the definition of colonize, this here, right? Okay, let's look at this, all right? The action or process of settling among and establishing control over the indigenous people of an area, right? That's what colonize, that is, look, and I'm not making this up. That's the definition there, right? So if we go with that definition, right, of colonization, the act or process of settling among and establishing control over the indigenous people of an area, right? And then if we go to this is in Birmingham, right? There are lots of these signs on the walls in places in Birmingham. No whites allowed after 8 p.m. Okay? No whites allowed after 8 p.m. So I would assume that if you are not white, you're allowed to go out after 8 p.m. That's what I'm assuming, right? That's what I'm assuming. So now let's go back to this, all right? Definition of colonization: the act or process of settling among and establishing control over the indigenous people of an area. What do you think, guys? I mean, I'm not giving an opinion on that. I'm just showing you guys things that are already out there in the mainstream media. All that. Listen, let your eyes tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen. They don't often lie. Right, listen, guys, let me jump down. We've got through we've gone through so much today. Right, okay, let me jump back. So the terror alert today, guys, it has gone up in London. We've got the Al-Quds Day March, which is not a march anymore. However, it's going to be highly charged with the war in the Middle East right now. That is going to be highly charged. We've got a huge Persian, I'm going to call them Persians. We've got a huge Persian diaspora in the United Kingdom who fled Iran in like the early 80s or late 70s or whatever. We've also got a pro-Israel, Jewish communities. They're going to be on the north side of the Thames. You're then going to have the pro-Ayatollah regime on the south side of the Thames. I think these gangs are going to meet. I do, guys. I think these gangs are going to meet. And we've also talked about how this crisis in the Middle East is affecting everybody. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you get your fuel tanks topped up. Okay, that's my advice to everybody. Okay, get your fuel tanks topped up and keep them topped up right now. I am going to close this live stream down. If you're on and you've not done so already, ladies and gentlemen, can you please make sure, if you're on and you've not done so right now, can you please make sure you hit those buttons, guys? The like, comment, subscribe, share. I'm going to be on to talk about to cover this march. I'll be on before 1, I think. I'm going to keep watching and see how it's going. I might be on like at 1 until after 3. I don't know, but I will be on at some point, guys, to cover what's happening on this march, because there'll be lots of people streaming. And what I'll do is I'll get all those screens open and I'll try and share with you guys what's happening in real time from various different screens. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your time. And I will see you guys later on today. Oh, hang on. I'm not going yet. So the Iranian national security. Okay, so I think look, right now, I don't think anybody really knows what's going to be a false flag and what's going to be a real flag. I don't know. What we do know is crazy stuff's going to be happening, right? Whether this is a false flag, whether this is a genuine attack, like we're in that place now where it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter, guys. It really won't. Anyway, I am going to close this down now and I'll be back on later. Around 1 o'clock, guys. I'll be on about 1 o'clock.